My dear students, now we entered into the unit 2. So the unit 2 is columns and struts. So the columns and struts, first regarding we have to know what is the column. So everyone knows in your homes, you will observe generally we call it as a pillar. It is like this. It is a vertical member of any structure, and maybe if you observe in your homes, the pillar, we call it as a nominal, a layman terminology is a pillar, but technically we call it as a column. So the column or strut is defined as a member of a structure which is subjected to the axial compressive load. I will write that the column definition here. It is a vertical member of a structure subjected to axial compressive load. Okay. So, and one important thing for these columns, whenever the both ends are fixed rigidly, we call it as a column. So I will draw here. So the column is like this. This is a load P. So this vertical member, we call it as a column. Okay. And also these columns are subjected to only vertical loads. Okay. These columns are subjected to only vertical loads. If you observe in your homes, from the top to bottom, whatever you are observing, the slab to the floor, there will be a vertical member is there. That vertical member, we call it as a column. Okay. And also it is subjected to only compressive load or also axial load. And coming to the struts, what is strut? I will write the definition. The struts are nothing but if the member of the structure is not vertical and the one or both of its ends are hinged or pinned supports or pinned joint, the bar is known as a strut. For example, if you observe here, you know the connecting rods or piston rods, all are the examples of struts. Anyway, I will write the clear definition of the struts. You know, the column is a vertical member, but coming to the strut, it is not a vertical member. Maybe sometimes it is vertical member, but edges are, you know, the ends are hinged support or also pinned support. I will write it is a comparatively shorter column, and it may be horizontal or inclined. Okay, and these struts are subjected to horizontal or inclined loads. Most probably, for example, for the struts, you know, in the roof trusses, we will use the struts most of the cases. So this is definitions of the column as well as the struts. Okay, and the definition for the column and struts we discussed till now. Now coming to the types of columns. The next topic is types of the columns. So how many types of columns are there? We have to discuss here. Okay. See, we have two types of the columns are there. Those are long column as well as the short column. The first one is the long column and second one is the short column. Okay, so the long column and short column, how we will define? Okay, how the failure will occur in the long column and short column, we will discuss now. Okay, coming to the definition of the column, that is the long column. For suppose we know already this is the column when load is acting here like this. Okay, so now we will write the long column definition. The first one, long column is nothing but it is that column in which the effective length to least lateral dimension ratio is greater than 12. So if you observe here, I will explain clearly now. The definition of the long column is nothing but the column in which the effective length to the least lateral dimension ratio is greater than 12. We call it as a long column. For suppose, if you take here, it is a long column. Okay, when load is acting on this one, what happens? There will be a bending like this. Okay, there will be a bending like this. The length of this bending, we call it as a, generally this is the length of the column. Okay, but the bending of this column, whenever load acting on the column, we call it as a effective length. Okay, so this effective ratio of this effective length to the least lateral dimension, if it is greater than 12, we call it as a long column. For suppose, I will explain clearly. Coming to the cross sections of column, if I take a cross section of columns, the columns are available in different cross sections. Anyway, first I will take a circular cross section, okay, as well as the rectangular cross section. Okay, you know, it is like this. So XX, YY, same like this. And now if you observe here, this portion we denoted with the D. And here D is nothing but diameter of the circular cross section. And this is the width B, and this is the capital D is the depth. Okay, so now I taken the both sections, you know, like cross section of the circular column and also longitudinal column. The thing is that whenever you will observe here, you see what is long column is defining. It is saying the ratio of effective length to the least lateral dimension ratio. If you take this one, effective length is LE, but least lateral dimension is here in the circular column. Diameter is only the dimension. That's why when LE by D is greater than 12, we call it as a long column. Okay. So same like that. Here, if you observe here, if you compare here, the D is more than the B. So here B is greater than D. If you observe here, the width is very less than the D. So the least lateral dimension, that is the least dimension is B, that is the width. Okay. With respect to the B, we call it as a when effective length to the least lateral dimension, if it is greater than 12, we call it as a long column. So my dear students, the coming to the long column, whatever I discussed here, when effective length to the least lateral dimension, we call it as a long column. Okay, but think whenever it is greater than 12. So if you observe here, the circular cross section and also rectangular cross section, here we taken the least lateral dimension is diameter of the circular cross section or circular column. If you take the rectangular one, whichever is the less, either width or depth, based on that we will define long column. So now coming to the short column definition, it is nothing but the effective length to the, I will write again here, the short column definition. It is that column in which the effective length to least lateral dimension ratio is less than 12. So what it is saying, when ratio of effective length to the least lateral dimension, when it is less than 12, we call it as a short column. That means LE by either D or B, whatever it may be, if it is less than 12, we call it as a short column. So when you observe this cross section, so regarding to the circular cross section, what happens when it is LE by D less than 12, we call it as a short column. Same like that, if you consider for the rectangular cross section, if it is LE by B less than 12, we call it as a short column. So this is the concept of short column and long column. That means type of columns we discussed till now. Okay. And one more important thing for the derivation and also the problems are available for this both columns. See the long columns. If for the long columns we use Euler's theory. Euler's theory is used. For the short columns, Rankine's theory is used. So we have two theories are there for both long columns as well as the short columns. For long columns we use Euler's theory. For short columns we use Rankine's theory. So these two are most important thing in our second unit, like columns and struts. So moving ahead to the next topic. Yeah. So how the failure will occur? So in long, the failure will occur for the long columns due to bending only. Failure will occur due to bending in the long columns. Okay. So here the axial compression, there is a negligible and we take it as a 0. And also the failure will occur due to axial compression in the short column. So my dear students, whenever we are observing here, the failure of the column will take place due to the bending in the long columns, and the failure of will occur due to the compression in the short columns. Anyway, I will write clearly for your better understanding. For suppose, if it is a column like this, okay, and there will be a load acting on this one, the failure of the short column. So how we will take like this, a short column of a uniform cross-sectional area. This is area A, and it is subjected to the axial compressive load P, and it is shown in this figure. Okay, the compressive stress, generally we know the stress equal to load by area. Okay, but if you see the compressive load on this short column, in this short column, whenever the it is increased gradually, what happens? It will be a reaching some certain point, and there will be a crushing will happen. Okay, so the stresses induced in the column corresponding to this load, we call it as a crushing stress, and load we call it as a crushing load. Okay, crushing load, we call it as a crushing load. Due to this crushing load, crushing stress will develop, okay, in the short column. So then what happens? The formula for the crushing stress equal to crushing load by area. So this is failure of the short column. So same like that, failure of the long column we will discuss now. Okay, failure of long column. As earlier I told you, the failure of the long column happens only bending, and there is a negligible of axial compression. Okay, and same like that, if I take a member, if it is a column like this, I will draw here. For suppose I will draw a line like this. Wait for 1 second. Yes. Okay, for suppose if it is a column, there is a load is acting on this one, you know, P, and length is L. Okay, and this is the point, we call it as a C. At midpoint we call it as a B. So whenever load is acting, there will be a bending like this, and this one we denoted with the E. I will tell you what is D. Okay, here if you observe, L equal to length of long column and P is the load, A is the area, E is the maximum bending of column at the center. Okay, sigma equal to load by area. So sigma naught is the load by area, and sigma B is the stress due to this bending. Okay, at the center of the column, here at the center of the column, the stress will be P into E by Z. So here Z we know already, that is a section modulus about the axis of bending. Okay, now this is the failure of the short column we discussed, as well as failure of the long column also we discussed. Now coming to the Ehlers column. Okay, we will write that one. The Ehlers column theory. So Ehlers column theory. So wait for 1 second. So this theory, the whenever the failure will occur in the long column, so there is a derivations are there regarding the Ehlers theory we used for the long columns. So anyway, first we will take some assumptions in the Ehlers column theory. So I will write the assumptions here. So the assumptions made in the Ehlers column theory. So the first one is, I will write each and everything clearly. The column is initially perfect, straight, it is perfectly straight, and the load is applied axially. So this is the first assumption. So the column, the initial it is perfectly straight and the load is applied axially. Everyone knows that one, previously I explained this one. And coming to the second assumption is the cross section of the column is uniform. Okay, throughout the length. So we have to take the column cross section is uniform throughout the length of that column. And coming to the third assumption, the column material perfectly elastic. I will write here, the column material is perfectly elastic even homogeneous and isotropic, and even it obeys the Hooke's law. And everyone knows Hooke's law already. We discussed in the previous classes. That is the stress proportional to the strain. So in the third assumption, the column of the material is perfectly elastic, homogeneous, isotropic, and it obeys the Hooke's law. And coming to the fourth assumption here, the length of the column is very large. So here we are taking the length of the column is very large as compared to, when you compare with the its lateral dimension. So the length of the column is very large as compared to its lateral dimension. That is the fourth assumption. The fifth assumption is the direct stress is very small as compared to its bending stress. So thing is that the fifth assumption saying in the column, in the long column especially, when you take the direct stress is very small as compared to the bending stress. The sixth one, as we know that the column will fail by buckling alone. Whatever I told previously, the long column will failure by the bending. That bending we call it as a buckling load. Okay, or sometimes we call it as a critical jest or crippling load. Okay, anyway, I will tell you after this one. There is a last assumption here. The seventh assumption, the self weight of column is negligible. So these are the 7 assumptions made in the Euler's column theory. Okay, and I told you already the failure of the columns, the long column, coming to the long column, what it is saying. So it will be whenever load acting on that one, there will be a bending happens. Due to this bending, the load, we call it as a buckling load and also critical jest or crippling load. Due to this one only, the buckling stress, whatever the bending stress, there will develop. Okay, so that's why whenever the buckling stresses or direct compressive stresses will happen in the short column or long column. In the long column, the buckling stresses will develop. In the short column, direct compressive will happen. So I will write clearly here. If it is a column, what happens when load is acting on this one? So there will be a bending like this. So this bending, we call it as a either buckling or crippling. Okay, so it happens only in the long columns, but in the short columns, due to the direct compressive stress, due to this load only, there will be a failure will happens. Okay, the failure will happens either in the direct. I will write again. Direct compressive stress, buckling stress, or combined direct compressive and buckling stresses. So the failure will happens here. Maybe it is happens in the long columns. This one happen in the short column. Okay. This concept is the columns for the short column and long column. And there is a end columns for the end conditions. We have different types of the end conditions are there for the long columns. So coming to the end condition, in case of the long columns, the stress due to direct load is very small in comparison with the stresses due to buckling. So hence, the failure of the long columns takes place entirely due to the buckling only, as I earlier discussed. Okay, and we have total 4 types of the end conditions are there. The first condition is both the ends of the column are hinged. Hinged or pinned, both are same. Okay, and second condition is one end is fixed and the other end is free. And third one, both the ends of the column are fixed. And fourth one end is fixed and other is pinned. So my dear students, if you observe here the end conditions for the long columns, we have total 4 types of the end conditions are there. If you take the first one, the both ends are, if you take the column, for suppose it is like this. Okay, this both ends are hinged connections. Okay, and sometimes what happens, one end is, this one is hinge fixed and other end is free. Sometimes it is a free, even if you observe in the cantilever portions. Okay, and coming to the third one, both ends of the columns are fixed like this, both ends are fixed, and one end is fixed and other end is pinned, so it is fixed. And if you observe here, it is like this, or hinged position. So like this, like that, we have end conditions are there. So total 4 end conditions are there, especially in the long columns. Okay, so this today class